Alrighty folks, want to welcome you all back to another video from Yates Computer Tips and Reviews. I wanted to point out some little facts again on networking. It's going to be a long collection on the simplest thing you can possibly think of that really isn't the simplest thing you can possibly think of. Here's your network cables. There are so many variables in the network cable. Have short video already. One of the factors that I've been testing that kind of go against best practices, but I don't really recommend these cables at all. Over the entire time that I've done networking, these have always been a problem. But there's a slight variable difference in this one. Let me open this up. There's a flat network cable. There's huge differences between this cable and this cable. This is the true certified proper cable to be using, is round. If there's any chance of you using any kind of cable where you can choose, make sure you pick the round. That's what's engineered and it's designed a certain way. The only reason why I have some of these that I'm testing to see how they work is they're not the same category as that. To me, this is a completely new thing that we haven't had in the future or in the past. This is now Cat 7. There's a huge difference. Each pair has a shielding around it. And then there should be a shielding. I don't know if the flat has it. There should be a shielding around all of those pairs. But then you have the shielded connector. It's a little bit different, than the standard connector. They fit in the same plugs. Most of the equipment does support shielded. You can use shielded cable pretty much in an unshielded port, on a network port. I don't know if I've covered that I'm sure I have on my switches and other videos between the differences in the ports. Basically, the port has just a metal connector that wraps around that makes contact to this that shields it. I have a lot of questions and a lot of things that I don't know if this is truly a good product or not. Because all of it gets grounded to the same point. So even though you have 4, 5, 6, 10 shields in here, it's all connected to the same point, so individually they're all connected together. So, does that truly help the crosstalk? I don't know. Cat 6 has a shielding around just the outside that's grounded out that will prevent any kind of interference from coming in. So that is one factor there. So when you go to a Cat 7, the bandwidth speeds are a lot different too. These can support a lot more bandwidth. The only reason why I considered using some of this in certain spots were from the TV to my mesh networks to have a reliable connection, because there's so much electronics, so much stuff in that TV. I wanted a shielded cable. And it was flat, that it could lay against the wall, not take up as much space. So I wanted to try them. not to mention, these were half the price as a Cat 6 shielded. So I ordered some. Want to try them. They seem to be working okay. But I'm not running gigabit through it because I'm pulling off of the internet. So it's only as fast as really my internet speed. So that's one of the factors that I'm looking at. I'm not really running full bandwidth speed on this either. I'm not pulling anything off of shared servers or anything else. So I still can't recommend this. But it's something I'm playing with and I'm testing that hopefully here in the future they'll have some reliable testing and some reliable benchmarking on these kind of cables to tell, is there really a difference between the old Cat 5e standard Cat 6 with no shielding and maybe something like this that are all flat. I can tell you, I wouldn't recommend a Cat 5 flat. I wouldn't recommend a Cat 6 flat. I still don't recommend this. So that's truly the two basic differences between your cables. If you buy these cables online pre-made, you really want to look at, is it the round cable or is it the flat cable? You don't want flat cable. If by some chance you get flat cable, do not ever mix round cable and flat cable together. Don't buy a coupler and couple of these together. You're going to have nothing but problems. These are two different varieties of cable. What makes this cable sort of okay is when you connect it from a switch to a router, there's nothing else in between. The switch and router can kind of compensate for what this cable is. Now, like I said, it can compensate. It doesn't have to do that for this. So my recommendation is always the round. So for this video, that's basically what I wanted to go over. What a flat cable is, what a round cable is. Now there's a lot more variables that go into what is in this round cable and what is into that flat cable. Like you've heard me mention earlier, the difference between a flat cable between category 5, category 6, and category 7 are different. There's even Cat 8 out pending. I believe lines are out you can buy. I don't know if they have flat. But again, this is not something I recommend. But if you go online and you start shopping for cables, you're going to see this. This is something a lot of people are pushing, is these flat cables. So I want you to be aware. It's basically a buyer beware. If you buy a Cat 6 cable and it comes in and it's like this and you're thinking it's like going to be like this, be aware. It may not work for you. Odds are it won't work for you. Odds are you're going to have problems. I would most likely send it back or just put it on a shelf somewhere, toss it somewhere, and buy you another cable. Because these really aren't that expensive. If you shop around, you can find them online, you can find some good prices. Some local stores sometimes have them for good prices. You know, different brands. But again, watch the color coding. If you buy it online, look at the color codes, because you can see it in the connector. That is one of the issues usually with the shielded. They have all the jacketing and shielding and all of this. You can't really see what the color code is. So that's one of the main concerns I have, because I have worked on these cables, I have cut them apart, I've checked them, and there's some weird color codes. There's some weird cable that I don't know where they got it from, who made it, it was specially made or something, so they can get those prices down and mass produce this stuff and ship this stuff out all over the world, and it's pretty much garbage. They stamp you know, Cat 5e standard, Cat 6 standard. How do you know that's truly a standard and not just false marked? There's tools you can buy, you can test, you can do all kinds of things. A lot of times, like I mentioned before, I hooked it up to a PlayStation, did testing through the lines, see what the signal rate is, see if it's consistent. There's little things you can do to do these tests if you're having issues. But most of the time, if you buy a good round cable, you look at the color code, look at the lines, make sure they match the colors, you should be okay. You can do conductivity tests. Go on, do internet speed tests. That's going to show some variable though, because your internet. But it should be somewhat consistent. You shouldn't have any weird problems. But these are the factors I wanted to bring up. Wanted to show between the flat and the round. I know it's not a whole lot to interpretate, but when you're looking at cables and you know what you're going to want, you want a Cat 7, you want it shielded, you want 10 feet, you want 15 feet, you want 25 foot, you're going to run into this. Options. I don't recommend this. Always go for the round. So, I want to wrap this one up. I know it's pretty short, but this is one of the key factors. A lot of times when I go in to troubleshoot someone's place, they had someone come in, someone they know, oh yeah, I can run these cables for you, I'll order them online, and I'll do this and I'll do that. And they come in, they run them, they connect them together, and then I go in and sometimes I'll find two of these, one on each end or one in the middle with two other lines that are round, connected together. Can't do that. No. Number one, I don't recommend this at all. And you're hooking it from what to what at what speeds. That's a whole nother factor. So, like I said, I hooked these to TVs that are just pulling from the internet. Only have 100 meg speed internet. So it's not pulling gigabit, it's not pulling 10 gig, it's not pulling any of that this stuff's rated for. If you're planning to run 5 gig, 10 gig, you better be buying round. Because this stuff will come back to bite you. I guarantee it. You'll use it for 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, and then all of a sudden you'll start having problems. Most of it should be because it's flat. It doesn't have the twist, it doesn't separate the lines right, the crosstalk factors. If you know cabling, you can look it up. They'll give you all kinds of technical information, pie graphs, and mathematics up the yin yang on all of this stuff, how this stuff is all configured. But it's not this. It's this cable. It's the round. This stuff, I don't know if you'll find any true ratings on this. Because the problem is like I said, you can't see what's in here. So even if you get a rating on someone that's done testing on this, and they say it can support 10 gig, but then someone else uses some funky wiring from who knows, some manufacturer that isn't even the proper coding or anything, or proper width of wiring, the diameter of wire, or any of that, you're going to have problems. And you can't see it. It's very hard. I'm sure if you got something and you look really hard, I'm sure you can probably find the colors. I know like on the front end you can kind of see colors. But, again, so that's what I wanted to cover for this one. It's basically round, flat, Also, you see the shielded connector, the unshielded connector. Only reason I'm bringing up shielded connector now, because Cat 6, it comes in shielded and unshielded. So, when you're looking at Cat 6, and if you decide you want shielded, make sure you look at those images. You make sure you look. Make sure. If they're telling you this is shielded, it's not shielded. Shielded connectors have the metal. So, let me wrap that one up. I know it's a nice short one, but it's really one of the most important factors, because when you go troubleshooting, you go into some places, you'll find this. It might be that someone put in a workstation, they plugged it in from the wall to the computer, and they bought these because they weren't paying attention. The IT guy or whoever does the ordering, ordered these instead of the round. So they put them in, they work fine, and then they start having issues later. Thinking, okay, it's not the cable because it's worked for 8 months, 6 months. Must be something wrong with the computer. Must be wrong with something in the switches. Must be something wrong with the internet or some other protocol or something. Odds are, it's this. If you go on YouTube, you'll see lots of people that tell you the same thing I'm telling you. But I'm not telling you this because other people have told you this. I'm telling you that because I've dealt with it. I've seen it. So that's why this is important, and this is why I'm relaying it to you. This isn't information from other people. I don't like that when people do videos and they claim that this information they know and blah 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 blah, but it's actually information they got from some other YouTuber or off the internet. This is actual stuff I've dealt with. This is stuff that can come back and bite you, and odds are it will. So, wanted to press that. Alrighty, I'm going to wrap it up. That way everybody's aware. Flat versus round. That's the main difference. Don't recommend it. I mean, if it's dirt cheap and you want to test, you want to play with it, if you're an IT professional or if you're someone that's interested in trying to play with some newer stuff that you don't usually play with, I mean, that's why I got into this field. That's why I got into this job. I was interested in stuff like that. So as you can tell, even today, I tell you, don't buy this. I don't recommend it. And what do? I go out and buy it and test it and play with it. I still don't recommend it. Because that's who I am. That's what I do. This is why I do this, is so I can tell you. Tell everybody. I run across this out in the field. People know. You see it. Oh, I know what your problem is. So, this might save you a lot of headaches. A lot of headaches in the future by just knowing, don't use this. If you have a problem, I bet you it's this. It's your flat cable. Alrighty. I've gone on long enough. Beat that to death, I think. Hopefully everybody understands my point. I'll get into more videos of this. More of shielded, unshielded, different categories. Hit the subscribe, hit the bell, watch the videos, refer them to your friends. Especially gamers. Gamers, this now applies to you. You want your best speed, you want your reliable connections. This starts to apply to you. Alrighty, that's it.